Okay, all right. Away from the politics that has awakened every inch of thought this morning, let's lighten up the mood a little bit. And here in Morning at NTV on Fridays, we want to also give focus to the arts industry, focusing on the music industry this morning. I am Priscilla Regina Naloga, and once again, thank you so much for being with us. Hashtag Morning at NTV, and you can stream with us on NTV Uganda via our YouTube channel as well as Facebook. Now, I am having a panel. I do have a usual suspect on my panel, but there is this suspect. I even failed to introduce him, so I gave him a task. I told him that let's pretend that this is your show as of this morning, and take over and give us an introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, his name is Moses Sandy, aka Mr. Mosh. Good morning to you, Mr. Mosh, and pretend this is your show. Take it away.
Very good morning. You are welcome to Morning at NTV. This is Mr. Mosh, aka Mr. Mosh Sandy African, who represents the good people of Machinde City at City Hall. And of course, once upon a time an artist, once upon a time an MC, once upon a time an events promoter, once upon a time a TV presenter, once upon a time a radio presenter, a freestyle artist. Should I mention everything? Yeah, we're live on NTV, and we are taking over this morning away from the politics. We're giving you a little bit of entertainment alongside this big squad. We are here to give you what's happening in the industry, what's hot in the industry, what's burning and what's blazing. You are welcome to the biggest morning show in Uganda, Africa, and some parts of Middle East.
Wow.
Is it that good?
So I am a guest as of this moment right here. So I will be on this other side. You've not introduced your other guest.
And of course, I've only introduced one. Let me introduce, what's your name again?
Andrew Kagwa.
Andrew Kagwa. You know, one of these days, I'll have to come back to TV because I miss this kind of life. So Andrew Kagwa, thank you so much for being a part of this. But TV has always been home. TV, radio is home, stage is home. No matter what I do the other side, but this is home. I'm glad to be here. And of course, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
How's your Friday so far?
Friday is just starting. But I'm imagining it's going to be good. A lot is happening with theatre mostly.
Definitely. Now, on this show, I'm still taking over as the host for just a few minutes. For just a few minutes. There's something I used to do when I was on radio. I used to do a little bit of freestyle every time I got into studio. You from the world of theatre, what do you do when you get into studio? Like, what's that thing that really hypes you up?
One thing that really hypes us up, theatre. Actually, we don't like we
just getting
when we're a bit hyper. Yeah, we come
naturally
in when we're a bit hyper naturally.
Now on my side, there's always something called a freestyle. If Dan had any instrumentals, I would have.
Dan, as you look
put
for
this
that
place on fire.
He's looking for that instrumental. As that instrumental is coming through to get that freestyle, we want to find out, personally, when I first met Mr. Moshe as an artist. It was back in school. He came for some of those school events where they would invite the biggest, hottest artist at the time. And we kept wondering, but how old is this guy? Because he seems to transcend generations of music. So, Mosh, just for my satisfaction, how young are you?
First of all, which school was it?
Gayaza.
Gayaza,
Yes.
yeah, I know. That was the life. That was the life. That's where I started my career from, doing school tours and all that. You know that I was getting school fees from that. I did school tours. I did youth holiday shows just to pay school fees for myself. But that was way back when I was still a kid. Right now I'm a fully grown man who recently hit that floor that most people are scared of. Yes, that fourth floor. No, fourth. Fourth, yes, I'm there right now. I'm there.
Because
yeah. We are in Uganda, but we are in Uganda, one of the most blessed nations when it comes to organic food.
Yeah.
So I eat ordinary Ugandan food.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay.
And it's Mkuze.
All right.
You see these beards all over the place.
We can count them though. I think Dan has found the instrumental for you to drop us that freestyle.
You still want it?
Oh, no. Yeah, please prepare it because it has to happen. It's Mr. Mosh. It's not Mr. Mosh without a freestyle. Okay?
Anyway, you talked about Gaza. Before, just let me steal a few of your seconds. You talked about guys, were you among the front benchers during those concerts or back benchers?
Front.
Definitely, I can see that.
Front.
I remember you. I remember the year I came to Gayaza. I must have seen you. I do remember that.
Okay, all right. We're talking about the music industry, and back in the day, who was your competition?
Competition
as an artist.
I don't think I've ever had competition, but honestly speaking, I don't think I've ever had competition because I got into this when I was 12 years old. I started from school, and at the school where I was one of the most quiet students. Nobody expected me to do anything, but one day we had a dance, those school dances, and I watched the DJ play. He was playing music, some instrumentals and all that. I got some courage and I was like, you know what, give me that microphone, let me do something, let me try out something, because I was always writing lyrics of Jamaican songs by the famous artists back then, the Beanie Man, Shaggy and the like. I'd never tried anything on stage. So that day I held the microphone and did my first freestyle and all that, everyone was like, wow, is it you that's doing that? So from that time on, I was always in my own world. I never had real competition because you would have had the beef coming in from me and some other people, but what I do believe I do it all alone. I always want to be unique. I always want to be myself, so I've never had anything like beef or competition.
Okay, all right. Mr. Dan, you can drop the beat. The freestyler is ready to pen away the lyrics.
I think I'm doing this to take you away from the stress you just watched from the FDC headquarters. Can I get some sound on the speakers? This on the Twitter, let them know say this are the fire we are burn ya. NTV in the morning we run ya. Friday we represent the thing right and all. The one and them na logo alongside myself now. Representing this are the thing we have to flow. Freestyle dancehall session we know. This Mr. Mosh on the microphone, this NTV. Ready for the fire burn this. Let them know say the freestyle this on the microphone thing. They still could do the thing them. Alright, I represent the people on the console. Right about now me I go run on the mic. Make them know say we standard than I. Alright, say N T to the V, N to the A L W O G N a logo alongside myself right I know. Alongside me brother. Spelling test, right? Alright. Then them say Andrew. Yes. K-W-G-W-A. Kagwa come from sending them me brother right now. Mr. Mosh representing the freestyle game. Yo. Talk about 19 how long. Alongside the whole of them 2023. Yo. Listen. Make them know say this a weekend party turn up. Make them know say this a the fire line up. NTV so we are go raise up. Dance our freestyle turn up. Yeah. Every Friday we party turn up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 just boom.
I finally get to use that line.
When did I last do a freestyle? I don't remember. I should try this in council one of these days. I should try this in council.
Hopefully there won't be goons.
There are no goons in our council. There are no goons.
Meeting. But anyway, thank you so much, Mr. Mosh, for lightening the mood for us. And finally, my Naroga name features in a song, proud moment for me. But anyway, the gist of this conversation is looking at the competitiveness in the music industry that we see today, stemming from the most recent news that we got on the music scene. Two big artists, and they are independently great and phenomenal in what they do, coming out and announcing the same dates for their concerts. We're talking about Shiba Karungi and the one and only
Cindy.
The king, Cindy. Yes, coming out to announce the same dates, and this has sparked a bit of rivalry, to the fans of now where do I go? If I love both of them, what do I do? Buy both tickets and things like that. But some of us on the other side think that it's an organized way of actually promoting music here in Uganda. But we want to have a flashback with my guests this morning to rivalries in music that have actually caused a lot of of Raw in Uganda. First of all, let's start with Dr. Jose Chameleon versus Bebe Cool. Andrew Kagwa, in those times, what did that competition look like, that rivalry between those two giants? Of course, one was already a giant, one was upcoming, and Bebe Cool was an upcoming artist at the time.
We read about it because I was in school when much of it was going on. But one thing I remember is most of the attacks used to happen on media, and I personally believe that was mostly manufactured by the media, because it looks like each camp had some media people within it, and so those media people would bring their side of the story on either their shows, and then another person brings the side, and somehow they take it back to these camps. But one thing I remember, Bebe Cool and Chameleon, there was a time it became violent. Was that a time it was stabbed or cut?
Yeah,
something like that.
That was in was it Angela? It was Ange Mystic back then. It was a combination of Bebe Cool, Chameleon, and Bobby Wine, plus some other guys from different camps.
Oh.
Yes, and you talked about having friends in the media. That whole saga, by the way, emanated from a story that was in one of the tabloids back then, that was Red Pepper. Of course, there were two different stories. One story I do remember vividly. One story was heaping praises onto Jose Chameleon, like all over the place. And then a day later, there was another story bashing Bobby Wine and Bebe Cool. And it looked so orchestrated in that we started hearing rumors about who's paying this, who is doing what, and all that. Then later there was that fist fight. But it wasn't really that big the way media made it look like. It was just a single punch like this onto someone's face that I witnessed. And I know why that person was punched, but later there were claims of one being stabbed, though nobody had been stabbed, because there was even a picture on the front page, but people tried to look for those stab marks and all that. There wasn't even a scratch, a single scratch. So some of those fights were real, but media blew them out of proportion.
So if they were blown out of proportion, what benefits came out of that blowout, Andrew?
The benefits, I think, they were before, at that point, there were about some good 5 years of music.
And hype.
There was hype. First of all, there was hype, and then there was music. Most of it was attacking each other. The beneficiary, I think the biggest beneficiary was the artist, because trust me, that music is still part of Uganda's DNA. But besides that, we danced to the music and someone made money at the end of the day. I believe.
Okay.
So I believe it. At that point, it was a win-win for the industry and the artists.
So at the end of the day, this was a good strategy to promote either the artists at the time?
Most definitely.
At that time, I believe it was good.
Okay, all right. So when Bebe Cool grew wings and dreadlocks, he became a big is big, right? And so when the dreadlocks grew, there's another young man who had little dreadlocks on his head who decided to also challenge him, and that was Bobby Wine. So the battle then shifted to Bebe Cool, big is big, versus Bobby Wine. And from the archives, we actually have someone having a partnership with Bobby Wine, and he will explain to us how he comes into this picture while giving us the analysis of that
picture
particular
again. It always comes back. Like every single year, it has a season when it comes back into the internet. Just a little bit about that picture. We were still in school. Like I told you, we started when we were in school. That was Chitante. That's me, Bobby Wine, and Master Parrot in the middle. We used to do freestyle battles, and look at our pants. The pants look so classy and stylish and all that.
Of course.
We were the men. We were the men back then. But anyway, when we were starting out, there wasn't anything like beef. It was just young boys and girls trying to really get their space in the industry. Because most of us were influenced by Jamaican dancehall music, because it was like hitting all over the place. I remember Bobby Wine and Master Parrot used to do Chakademas and Players. I used to do a little bit of Beanie Man and Shaggy. We had different artists, but Bebe Cool, Chameleon were a bit bigger and older. They used to try and mimic Buju Banton. That's where Bebe Cool got Gargamel from. Chameleon was doing that roughneck thing. So we grew up around the same style of music and culture. And when we go back to Jamaica, where that music came from, there was beef as well, because we have one of the longest lasting beef in the music industry that was between Beanie Man and Bounty Killer. It also got physical, by the way, at a certain point. And in the US, we had the Biggie Smalls, Notorious B.I.G. and Tupac beef. So beef in the industry didn't just start yesterday. It has been around. But it's part of popular culture mainly, because when you go into some other genres like Kadongo Commando, that their beef had stories like Gunya and Doga, only that stuff like Gunya and Doga, Gunya Kolavati.
No, but there was a time it became musical, and there was a show at Nachivubo. I don't remember the guys, but Sebata was one of the people involved.
Exactly.
Yeah, and geez, it was a sellout.
And they got some titles around Golden Boy of Africa and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when we got to popular culture, the guys that started it all and never had much beef, because it was a partnership. That was Shanks, Vividi, Ragadi, Menton Summer, and Orlando, and the likes. But when it got to the modern day popular artists, that was the same time FM stations were in. At the same time, we had tabloids all over the place. So stars had to be created, and that's one of the ways. Because I remember we talked about other artists like Julian and Irene. There was also some sort of beef, because they were like, who is the queen? Who is the queen of music? And
yet they were initially one group.
Yeah, IJ.
Okay, IJ. And then the purpose of their split was?
One left.
One left and went to France.
Was that the time she got married?
Yeah, that's the time.
Irene.
That's the time.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So how does their beef? Did their beef work out for them?
Okay.
In promoting either of them.
One thing you were saying about when he was saying they did not have beef when they were just starting out. Like, funny thing, yesterday I had a conversation with someone who he's quite older, and he was asking me of the days when there used to be jam sessions at the National Theatre. And I happened to sneak into one of the jam sessions, got beaten for it. So one thing I remember about that jam session is that I think there was Cute Kai. At that time he hadn't released the song yet. But then there was Ragadi, there was Chameleon. At that time, some of them had songs, others did not have songs. But the jam session was about literally artists coming together and jamming, like having a good time.
A good time.
So he was asking me if that can come back to them. And I told him the reason why that happened then is there were no egos. There wasn't things like I'm bigger than you. Like, people were friendly, people had passion and everything. So yes, when they were starting, at that time, I think it was all about passion, even how people wanted to collaborate, because I was talking to Emperor Lando and he was telling me of how they would be in a club, then they would drop a beat and different ragamuffins would come, drop a beat, and I think when they are stopping, they're like, oh, Uncle Mosh, tell me something, and then you grab the beat and you go on with it, and then you also call someone. So there was a lot of passion at that time, and people wanted to do it for the love of it. The difference is that today, when the media came in, of course, when the media comes in, you start fighting to have more share of it. Then pop culture comes in, social media. The audience has an audience. We have a problem comparing, where you can be like, but Rolando, who is better? And then there's a side that's saying Mosh is better. And trust me, when you're saying that on social media, these people are seeing them. Yeah. Like, they might not respond, but they are seeing them.
Okay, all right. Let's look at the rivalry between Bebe Cool and Bobby Wine. I think it brought out the crew promotion of music, because both of them had crews.
There was Firebase and Gargamel.
And so in these crews, they were actually promoting other artists alongside them.
Definitely.
Was that a good gimmicks in there to promote the music industry at the time?
Yes, it was. And you can never talk about Uganda's popular music without mentioning those two crews. They made sure the industry was vibrant enough. And most people used to look at it in a negative way, but I do think it's very good for the industry, because a dull industry never gets anywhere. Industry is driven by news. Industry is driven by what's happening. Industry is driven by fans and fanatics alike. I know the fights got so crazy, but it worked out for everyone. Let me tell you one thing. Besides looking at the actual physical fights, in Firebase, there was a group of artists that came out and became successful later on in their careers. We had the likes of Black Boy, the likes of Toolman, the likes of the late Dizzy Nuts, the likes of Master Parrot, and then Ward Weatherman, the late Nana, and very many, including Nubian Lee, who was once upon a time in a group also called that is Nubian Squad. Nubian Squad. So Butcherman as well, I'd forgotten Butcherman. That gave a rise to a very big number of artists from one camp doing one kind of music, and they had fans following them all over the place. And then we also had Gargamel on the other side, which largely had Bebe Cool. He didn't have very many artists in Gargamel, though later on he took on Dizzy Nuts, who later went, and then Aton and Rain, who sang Mata with Zuena, and he tried using Aton and Rain to fight the Good Life battles, but they could not handle Radio and Weasel. So one thing I can tell you about that is that whenever you get something making news about an industry, you're going to get people more interested in it, and in the end you're going to get shows filled up. What happens are those shows, they are income earners, by the way, because as we speak, entertainment industry employs a very big number of youths in Uganda. So that is a positive I can give you, because almost every weekend, every entertainment spot in the nation, maybe if in the east there was Bobby Wine, you'd find in the north there is Bebe Cool. If Bobby Wine was in the west, you'd find in the central this one. So they went with all those artists, and you know what comes with it: transport industry, hotel industry, food industry, and all that. So it's a good thing. Instead of looking at only a tiny bit of the negativity, they helped grow the urban culture. And every artist that's singing right now, every entertainer that's in the market right now really needs to give respect to those people that set the precedent, and they set the pace, and they got this music from where it was lying low before we had South Africa taking over Uganda, Congo taking over Uganda, other nations taking over Uganda. It's from that kind of beef and pop culture that we have lots of artists coming up currently.
They have covered up the rest. What other advantages came out of this crew culture?
I feel like he has talked about the advantages. I can talk about the disadvantages.
Okay, all right.
So you are the opposer and the proposer.
No.
In this debate.
Therefore, you're supposed to be throw you, Madam Chair.
No, but of course, as a journalist, I think one of the best things that came out was the fact that they got the media involved. Okay, not involved, but they got the media.
They got the attention. Yeah.
Because before that, the media did not pay that much attention to Ugandan pop culture or Ugandan music or what a Ugandan musician was doing. But personally, I think the dangers I found out of the cruise was that the cruise worked like a soap opera. And if you're looking at a soap opera, say like Sanyu, where a story is written to service one person. Like, yes, it was very amazing. There was Firebase crew, and it had this long roster of artists. But at the end of the day, you ended up with a Firebase that was serving the interests of Bobby Wine as an artist. And maybe it also explains why, much as there was a very long line of artists, there are very few we can talk about today that were in this cruise. When it comes to Bebe Cool and the Gargamel, like I feel like, there were some that broke out because Rema was part of Gargamel. And I feel like Rema to date is technically the most successful artist we've gotten out of a crew. And out of 3 crews combined, be it, there's Radio and Weasel, because they also came out of a crew. I think those 2 are technically some of the most successful. But besides those, Radiant Wiz at one point was used actually to, no, they were fighting their own battles. But besides Rema, I feel like the other artists that were part of the crew at times ended up fighting for their boss, and you're thinking like, that is not your war, you shouldn't even be fighting it. Because Ayton and Rain trying to fight
Radiant Wiz.
Like, I was thinking, that is not your battle. Like, you shouldn't be starting fights that you're not part of.
But you see, if the teacher has taught you this way, how do you know that there's an alternative?
But where did it end? Because there was some two other boys that were amazing singers that were also hitting at Radiant Weasel. I can't remember some.
Yeah, I do remember some.
Yomigaga, some. Don't remember. But yeah, there were some two others that also ended up fighting, I think, Bebeku's battle with Radiant Weasel. Then they fought with Bobby Wine. And you're thinking this was and not yours. Okay. And it didn't end well for many of those artists.
All right. Let's look at something else that comes out of all this. From where I'm seated, it feels like all these have given an opportunity to potential artists to pick up on the vastity of genres that are out there in terms of music. Has this actually worked out in diversifying music in Uganda, Mosh?
Yeah, most definitely, because when you look at the history of Ugandan music, we never had any identity. For starters, we never had any identity. The initial artists used to try out rumba from Congo, and then this generation came in with dancehall influence and then hip-hop influence coming in from the likes of Bataka Underground. But Uganda as a nation, if you're looking for diversity and if you're looking for different kinds of music, Uganda really somehow operates like uses the American model to operate. Because if you look into our industry, you can't really put a finger onto what exactly we do here in Uganda, but we do what is popular. What is popular out there, we Ugandanize it, do it our own way, and make it. From that history of the artists that shaped pop culture in Uganda, I can tell you right now as we speak, when you listen to radio from morning, you can listen to radio from morning up to evening when they are only playing Ugandan music, and you get to see diversity of different artists. This minute you can be listening to one artist called Vairota trying to do a little bit of ballads and R&B plus a little bit of soul. Then you get to get into an Alien Skin who goes old school dancehall in a new style. Then you get to the Fefebusis of this world. They are doing what used to be called Luga Flow, but right now it's more of Luga Rap because flow is more associated with hip-hop beats. Then they use Afro beats and then dancehall beats to do their rap. They created a culture of artists trying out something new.
This whole conversation is stemming from something that we have seen recently, Shiba versus Cindy. I'll start with you, Mosh. This beef comes out at concert level. The beefs we've been talking about are things that have caused people to beef against each other day by day, producing music day by day, challenging themselves day by day. So I don't see any benefit that is going to be coming out of this rivalry that has stemmed the social media.
Talking about that, linking it with the beef we've been watching on TV, Bobby Wine once sang, my father said there is more politics in the music industry than in the parliament. He said that this is politics. It is politics, and one thing you can never run away from is politics in any organized business or organized society. So you're saying Shiba and Cindy are doing it at industry level, rather at concert level. Yes, they are. But I would want even more. I would want more. Don't say Jagala violence, Sagala violence. Jagala hype. We need hype. Currently, as we speak. Remember, one of the, if you go back to the trends on internet and of course in on media, mainstream media and all that, the day Palazzo and Alien Skin had a concert, I don't think the industry has had anything as vibrant as that, and it worked out for both camps, and the people that made money on those days, or rather on that particular day, were very many. So this is what I'm looking at. Cindy and Shiba, this is my message. Let me give them a direct message. If it is beef and musical beef, please go at it. Grab that opportunity and go at it. We want that. We want actual beef where we're going to see Camp Cindy is ready to put up one of the biggest performances, and Camp Shiba is ready to put up one of the biggest performances. In doing that, the other young female artists looking in the background will be like, wow, how do I get to that level? Okay. Let me work harder. Let me get a better writer. Let me go to a better producer.
Andrew Kagwa, in conclusion, is this beef going to yield anything?
You know, the beefs we've been talking about before yielded a lot simply because one, the artists were willing to put in the music, and two, I think the artists were still hungry when these things happened. I do not know how hungry Shiba and Cindy are, because the way they talk about their achievements, I feel like they're very satisfied.
Arrived.
Yeah, I feel like they've arrived. So most of the times when I hear beef, I keep asking myself, okay, what's the Ugandan industry getting out of it?
Okay.
Like, are we getting an album out of it? Like, I think you could talk about 20 plus songs that came out of just Bobby Wine versus Bebe Cool. And then you could have other songs. Chameleon literally released Saturday.
So, is it going to work or not going to work?
I don't see working beyond the concert for the two of them.
All right, okay. My 2 cents on the matter is that perhaps because they're ladies, they fear to go at each other face to face. But a battle has to be face to face.
Talk to me directly.
Yeah, talk to me directly. Not Simanya, my manager versus their manager, press conference, their press conference. Put the press conferences together. You know, even when heavyweight guys are going at it, they measure them together. They do everything together. Table here, table there. That's anyway, moving forward, perhaps other female artists can pick that up. Anyway, all this comes down to competition and the fact that competition is healthy. A court is stated that if you're a true warrior, competition should not scare you. It actually does make you better. And making it better, someone here is very, very proud that his wife makes him better. And today is her birthday. Happy birthday to you, the one and only Martha, the mother of my kids. The only main vein in my body that keeps my blood flowing. I cherish you to the fullest. I appreciate the love that you render to me and our kids. I treasure this day because you were born. Martha, or baby Martha, your husband, Chabasinga Peter, says happy birthday to you. And therefore, let's close this off with Mr. Mosh singing for you a special birthday.
You want a birthday song?
Hey.
I'll do your birthday freestyle. But not this.
Martha from Peter.
Not this boring happy birthday. Martha from Peter
To Martha.
Yeah.
Hey, Dan, if you're ready, DJ Dan, if you're ready, drop the beat. Meanwhile, let me say hello to my people. That is in Machinde City. Yes, Machinde City. Big up to my people in Machinde City. I love you so much. People in Kansanga, Gaba, Bunga, and all those areas. Thank you so much for believing in me. DJ Dan, drop it. Make we do a birthday freestyle. From Peter to Martha, right? All right. Give me the sound from the speaker. With the bass and the tweeter. In studio, I need to hear some sound from the speaker. All right, then. Make a sudden. Yeah. Right now, some me say, bye bye. Some me step out of the place from the morning. Happy birthday, Martha from Peter. Happy birthday, Martha from Peter.